At the start of Football Manager 2024, you will find Oscar Bobb at Manchester City. He will be part of their under-21 squad. He's 20 years old and has been capped by Norway at under-19s level. He's valued at £1 to £3.1 million and has a contract worth £7,000 per week that runs until 2026. Looking at where he can play on the pitch, he's one of those attacking players that can pretty much play anywhere. His strongest game is through the middle of the park, either as a central midfielder or as an attacking midfielder, but he can comfortably play wide left. He's also strong on the right and can even be a makeshift striker if you require him to be. Looking at his attributes, you can see that his game is built around his acceleration, his pace and his agility. In the mentals, he has standouts of aggression, composure, determination, flair, vision and work rate. And in terms of the technicals, it's all about his crossing, his dribbling, first touch, passing and technique. He comes with one player trait to begin the game, which is comes deep to get the ball. He has a personality that is fairly determined. So that's how Oscar Bobb looks at the start of the game. Let's jump 5 years further forward and see how he develops in 2028. We have now jumped 5 years forward. It is 2028 and we find Oscar Bobb at Barnsley. He's 24 years old and has played 8 times for Norway's under-21s. He's valued at £2.8 to £8.4 million by Barnsley and has a contract worth £9,000 per week, and that runs until 2029. In terms of the player himself and his attributes, he hasn't developed as greatly as I thought he would, but he still has in the physicals acceleration, balance, agility and pace score highly. In the mentals, he now has 16 for determination. There are a lot of 13s, including composure, flair, off the ball, vision and work rate, and he has that 14 for aggression. In the technicals, he has dribbling of 13, first touch of 12, passing of 12 and technique of 13. He has some player traits now with runs down the left with the ball, comes deep to get the ball. If we look at his history and his career stats to see how he got to Barnsley, he had that initial season at Manchester City making just 1 appearance before he moved out on loan to Millwall. He played there 15 times, scoring 1 goal, before 2 barren seasons back at Manchester City saw him leave on a free transfer. Once he left, he went to Barnsley, where in the first season he played 35 times, didn't score but had 2 assists. In the second season, the 27-28 season, he had his best season in football, 39 games, 6 goals and 1 assist. So his career so far hasn't really taken off. Not too sure why he left Manchester City on a free or why they didn't use him. Obviously, he isn't as big a talent as we thought at Manchester City, but can he redeem himself and get himself a bigger move further on down the line? Let's jump 5 years further forward and see what happens with Oscar Bobb. So we have jumped to 2033 and we find Oscar Bobb is at Gjøvik Lyn. He's 29 years old and has no further international representation. He's contracted at Gjøvik Lyn on a £0 per week contract and isn't actually valued as a player. Looking at the player himself, unfortunately his career has just not panned out the way that he would have wanted it to, and the decline at the age of 29 is glaringly obvious for everybody to see. His physicals have just eroded away. Acceleration and agility of 11 are his highest scorers there. In the mentals, he's down to 14 aggression, 16 for determination, which is quite noble, but he has 11 for leadership. And in the technicals, that has all gone too. Crossing of 11 and technique of 11 are the only 2 things left. So if we look at his career stats then to see exactly what's happened, since he's been at Barnsley, which is where we left him off, he actually was playing regular first team football all the way up until the end of his contract. They released him and he has moved to Norway to play for Gjøvik Lyn. Since he has been there, he has only made 9 appearances, but he has scored 2 goals and had 4 assists. So it's a bit of a strange one with Oscar Bobb. Not too sure what has gone on or why he hasn't developed as a footballer. The big question now is what happens when we go 5 years further forward? Will he still even be playing when we get to 2038? Let's find out. So it is now 2038 and we are checking in with Oscar Bobb for the final time. He's now 34 years old and is still at Gjøvik Lyn. He still has a £0 per week contract and is valued at £0. Looking at the player's attributes, at the age of 34, the drop-off is finally complete. The physicals have gone, with acceleration being the highest at 10. In the mentals, he does hold on to 14 aggression, 16 determination, and those stats including composure, flair, leadership and work rate at 11. Then in terms of the technicals, crossing of 12, passing of 12 and technique of 12. Not too sure where it has gone wrong for Oscar Bobb in the game. Looking at his career stats, so after he left Barnsley, he was pretty much an ever-present in the Gjøvik Lyn team whilst he was back in Norway. 25 games, 26 games, 25 games, 25 games. Then in the 2038 season, the drop-off finally caught up with him. Only 4 games played in the 2038 season. If we look across his entire career, he played 333 games. He scored 31 goals, 38 assists, 2 Player of the Match awards, and had an overall career rating of 6.73. If we look at some of the milestones that he achieved, in terms of individual awards, there were only seasonal best 11s for Barnsley and Championship Team of the Week. If we go to the competitions and go back to the start, so he won some of these with Manchester City before the game would have started, but he did win the English Under-21 Premier Division 1 winners. He then became a Champions League winner with Manchester City in 2024. And then he would go on to have more under-21 success before being relegated from the Sky Bet Championship with Barnsley. So a bit of a strange career. Not too sure how it hasn't worked out for him, whether he just couldn't get the first team football at Manchester City and then they didn't want to keep him. In real life, he is highly rated by Pep Guardiola. He recently made his 8th Premier League appearance against Aston Villa, so he is one that is definitely in the first team in real life. Not too sure Football Manager have really scored him that highly in terms of the game. But a weird career sees him at the age of 34 finish up at Gjøvik Lyn. Right then, if you're still with me at this point of the video, firstly a big thank you. Secondly, if you could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, I really would appreciate it. Cannot thank you all enough for the support that you've given the channel across the past couple of months. It really has been fantastic to watch the channel grow. For this one though, I'm going to be leaving it there. A big thank you for watching. I'll see you on another video very soon.